Night had fully fallen over Briarwood by the time Ethan, Mara, and Lucas reached the abandoned drainage tunnels, the ones Ethan insisted he saw in his vision. But as they stepped into the concrete maw of the entrance, it immediately felt wrong. There was no echo, no dripping water, no wind. The sound just died. Mara swept her flashlight across the rough stone. "This tunnel shouldn't be this quiet," she whispered. Lucas nodded. He felt it too. A pressure. A weight. As if something enormous was breathing into the walls themselves. They went deeper. The floor became damp. The smell changed, metallic, rotten, chemical. Then they saw it. At the far end of the corridor, smeared across the wall like paint, was a giant black handprint. 5 long claw marks dragged downward, burning into the concrete like acid. Mara knelt down. "This wasn't in the police report." Ethan murmured, "No one survived long enough to report it." And then, the tunnel lights above them flickered. Twice. 3 times. Then they exploded. Glass rained down like hail. The entire tunnel plunged into darkness except for the thin cone of Mara's flashlight. That's when the whispering began. Not human whispers. Not words. Something like shivering, a strained vibration crawling through the concrete. A voice that wasn't a voice. Lucas grabbed Ethan's arm. "That's the same sound the thing made when it killed my dog." They turned a corner and entered a massive maintenance chamber, bigger than the others, and instantly froze. The room was covered in veins. Black, pulsating veins running along the ceiling, down the walls, merging into the floor. Like thick cables of rotten tissue, slowly twitching as if alive. At the back of the chamber was a hole. Or rather an opening, torn through the concrete by something strong enough to rip stone like wet paper. A sickly amber light pulsed inside. Mara whispered, "Is this where it came from?" But Ethan shook his head. "No. This is where it hides." As if responding, a deep drone reverberated from the tunnel behind them, a bass-heavy sound that made their ribs tremble. Lucas spun around. What was it? A shape burst out of the darkness. Not fully seen. Just a blur of limbs, wet teeth, and shadowed movement. They sprinted into the chamber as the creature lunged again. Mara slammed the steel door shut, the loud metallic boom echoing through the tunnels. The thing hit the door. Once. Twice. Then stopped. Silence. Ethan pressed his ear against the door, but instead of breathing or growling, he heard scratching. Like claws carving symbols into metal. He backed away horrified. "What does it want?" Mara whispered. Lucas, still shaking, muttered, "I don't think it hunts like an animal. I think it learns." Before they could respond, a faint chime sounded from the hole in the back of the chamber. A bell. No explanation. No source. Just a soft, rhythmic ringing echoing from somewhere deep inside the new tunnels. The amber light pulsed brighter. Ethan felt his vision blur. Not fainting, something else. Something pulling. He saw flashes of another place, a ruined street, floating ash, dark silhouettes moving like puppets. Mara grabbed him. "Ethan, stay with us." He blinked hard and snapped back. "I saw another side of this tunnel. Another version." Lucas exhaled. "You mean like the place I saw the demo dog drag that deer? All dark and foggy?" Ethan nodded. "It's merging with our world. Slowly." They all looked at the pulsing hole in the wall. The chime rang again. The creature behind the door stopped scratching. As the 3 of them stepped toward the opening, Mara whispered, "What if this isn't a nest?" Ethan swallowed. "What if it's a door?" A cold wind blew out from the hole, carrying the smell of dead forests, ash, and electricity. The amber light flickered violently, illuminating skeletal shapes deeper in the tunnel. Some crawling, some hanging, some twitching. Lucas whispered, his voice nearly breaking. "We're not alone in there, are we?" Ethan shook his head slowly. "Not even close." And with that, they crossed the threshold into the chamber beyond, unaware that somewhere in the dark, something shapeless and ancient crawled upside down along the ceiling, following them. Its many eyes opening one by one. The moment they stepped through the ruptured wall, the air changed. It wasn't just colder, it was heavier, like invisible hands pressing against their skin. The tunnel beyond didn't feel like part of Briarwood's infrastructure. The architecture was wrong. The angles were warped, bending slightly inward like the corridor was breathing. Mara tightened her grip on the flashlight. These walls, they weren't built. They were grown. Lucas ran his fingers across one of the ribbed surfaces. The material flexed like cartilage. He yanked his hand away instantly. "Jesus, it's warm." Ethan swallowed hard. "It's not a tunnel. It's a throat." They moved deeper. The amber light pulsed through the fleshy corridor, brighter now, beating like a colossal heart buried somewhere ahead. Each pulse sent a low rumble through the floor, not loud but powerful enough that they felt it in their bones. After a few minutes, they emerged into a vast chamber. It looked like a cavern, but the ceiling was lined with long strands of slick, fibrous tissue that dripped dark fluid onto the floor. The ground itself was uneven, covered in patches of moss-like material that glowed faintly blue. In the center of the chamber was something that froze them all. A cocoon, 10 feet tall, hanging from the ceiling by thick, black tendrils. Inside something moved, slowly, deliberately. Lucas whispered, "Is that human?" Mara lifted her flashlight. The silhouette inside twitched violently, one long jolt, and then became still. Ethan took one step closer, almost drawn to it. But a sound echoed through the chamber that made every hair on their body stand up. A wet clicking. Not from the cocoon, but from somewhere above. Mara raised her flashlight toward the ceiling. "Oh my God." Then, "Lucas, look." Clinging to the ceiling, upside down, limbs splayed like a spider, was a creature they hadn't seen fully yet. 7 feet tall. Long multi-jointed arms. A head shaped like a twisted skull, opening outward like unfolding flower petals made of bone. Between the petal plates, endless rows of tiny teeth chattered like insect wings. A shapeless hunger but not fully formed. A juvenile. A hunter. Lucas whispered, voice trembling. "Is that what killed those hikers? That thing?" The creature shifted one limb, then another. Its body contorted unnaturally as it crawled down the wall, each movement producing that sickening clicking sound. Ethan whispered, "Back away, slowly." But the creature dropped to the ground. Silently. Mara shone the flashlight directly at it. Its petals snapped open with a horrible wet crack. The creature shrieked, a sound like hundreds of owls screaming at once, and launched forward. The three of them sprinted across the chamber, slipping on the pulsating moss as the creature galloped behind them on twisted limbs. Its claws scraped sparks off the floor. Lucas grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground and swung it wildly as it got close. The pipe connected with a wet thud. The creature reeled back, not hurt but startled, before letting out a guttural roar that vibrated the walls. Ethan shouted, "Run! Run now!" They dove into another dark corridor just as the creature slammed into the wall behind them, the force sending cracks up the fleshy surface. The three stumbled forward, breathless, adrenaline crashing through their veins. The corridor branched into two paths ahead. Mara pointed left. "This way." Ethan grabbed her wrist. "No, listen." From the left tunnel came the faint sound of breathing. Deep, slow, massive breaths. From the right tunnel came something else, a faint electric hum. Mechanical. Non-organic. Lucas's eyes widened. "There's equipment down there. Someone's been here before." Mara whispered, "You think the government knew? Military? Scientists?" "No," Ethan said quietly. "Someone was studying it. They took the right tunnel." As they moved deeper, the organic walls gradually shifted into something stranger, a hybrid of flesh and machinery. Black cables fused with tendons. Steel plates embedded into bone-like surfaces. Circuitry pulsing like veins. The tunnel opened into a laboratory, or what remained of one. Tables overturned. Monitors shattered. Paperwork shredded and soaked in dark fluid. And cages. 8 of them. Large enough to hold a person. Every cage door bent outward, as if something inside had forced its way out. On one cage, burned into the metal in sloppy handwriting, were 3 words. "Do not feed." Lucas shivered. Who the hell would feed that thing? Ethan didn't answer, because he was staring at the far side of the lab. A giant reinforced window cracked down the center. Through it, they saw another chamber, cleaner, mechanical, lit by flickering white lights. Inside it were countless screens, each showing different locations. Forests, basements, storm drains, abandoned factories. All monitored. All watched. Mara stepped forward. This wasn't just a lab. It was a surveillance station. Lucas frowned. Surveilling what? Ethan pointed shakily at the screens. One of them showed something horrifying. The juvenile creature. The one they had just barely escaped. Wasn't alone. There were dozens of them. All crawling through different tunnels, forests, and ruins, like a network spreading across worlds. Mara's voice cracked. "Oh God, they're connected. It's not hunting for food. It's scouting." And before any of them could react, the monitors began shutting off one by one. Not failing. Turning off. Someone else was controlling them. A metallic voice suddenly echoed from an unseen speaker above. Subject group located. Proceed to isolation chamber. We are coming. Ethan froze. That wasn't the creature. Lucas stared at the ceiling. That was a human voice. Mara's voice dropped to a whisper. We're not just dealing with monsters. Ethan finished her sentence. We're dealing with the people who keep them.